everyone. We are coming to an end of the lottery. So now we have traveled up north to Toronto for the 13th pick in this NBA mock draft. Joining me for the very first time, we just had a guy who came 3 years in a row. And now we've got some fresh meat. Aaron Rose, welcome. How are you?
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to do this mock draft with you.
Okay, so you were a little upset that OKC drafted who they drafted, unfortunately. So we know at this point when we're recording that the Raptors have a new coach, that Fred VanVleet has opted out of his player option and will be a free agent this summer. Do either of these things, Aaron, change what the Raptors need with this 13th pick?
I don't think it changes necessarily what the Raptors need. I always expected Fred to opt out. I don't think that necessarily means he won't be back in Toronto. It just means that he won't be back on that contract. We don't know today if Gary Trent Jr. is going to opt out of that contract. I suspect we will know very soon. And I suspect he will opt out of that contract. So I'm sort of working under that idea, that philosophy. And then you mentioned the Raptors just hired a new coach, Darko and from Memphis. I know you guys in Memphis are very excited about that. And he seems to be more of an offensive guy, although I'm not sure the Raptors are necessarily going to take their head coach hire and make the draft pick based on that. But we will see. Lots to consider with this turning point draft pick for the Raptors right now.
Yes, 13 is a good number. Oh, a good number. Let's say, because there is so many things up in the air with the Raptors on who comes back, who doesn't, positionally, do the Raptors then look at getting a point guard? Is there a space where they need a big? Like what are they looking at? Like what would help them get to that next step with this lottery pick?
The short answer is probably everything. With the exception of center, because I suspect they will bring back Jakob Poeltl, who they traded a first round pick for at the trade deadline. They need everything. If Fred stays, they need a backup point guard. If Fred leaves, they need a starting point guard. They need a ton of shooting. They were one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA last season. I suppose the only thing they don't need is the thing they keep piling up in previous drafts, is this sort of defense first wing who can't really shoot. So OG Anunoby is a good shooter, but they've gone for this defense first guy who can't really dribble the ball so well and has upside. But I think now is a good time to maybe target a shooter. And we will discuss that, I think, when I reveal the pick. But the Raptors need a ton of help. And I think when you finish 41, and 41, you need a lot of additions this summer to make this team better.
Okay, my second question then before I put you on the clock is the number 13th pick for Toronto something that is a game changer, or is it something that you think could be a tradable asset where they want to go get a vet instead?
I don't think the Raptors will trade the 13th pick to get a veteran player right now. I would be surprised if they went in that direction. That being said, I was surprised when they went in the direction they did at the trade deadline and added to that core. I was convinced that they were going to go the other way. So thank you for having me on, but maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll be the first to admit that. So I don't think the Raptors will trade for a veteran. We discussed, could we make a trade in this mock draft? I was told that was not the case. And in the real draft, I suspect the Raptors will be on the phone. They will probably make a call to Portland. They might make a call to Houston. They might make a call to Dallas and a couple of the other teams. I think that they could try and move up in the draft, especially if they try and build around Scottie Barnes. For this draft, we will stay put at 13. And I think more likely than not, the Raptors will probably make that 13th pick. It's always tough to bet that they're going to go in one direction or another. So the safe bet is always to say they'll probably just take their pick and draft at 13.
All right. Well, Aaron, if it makes you feel any better, I think a lot of people in Memphis also were surprised at the trade deadline by the Raptors. So saying that, I'm going to put you on the clock. Aaron Rose, drafting for the Toronto Raptors. You are on the clock. Who are you taking?
So I don't think this is necessarily an obvious pick. This isn't the first pick in the draft where everyone knows who's going. This isn't the second or third pick.
I have no idea who you're going to pick.
Another two guys. I was really interested in Cason Wallace, but he just went off the board. That was a guy I was targeting for the Raptors. So with the 13th pick in the NBA draft, From Michigan, I'm going with Kobe Bufkin. That is the pick at number 13. And I think it's a good fit. And I'll just jump here because number 13 has been lucky for Kobe B's in the past. So if you want to go with that, at number 13, the Raptors are drafting Kobe B.
And what about his game do you like in terms of fitting with what the Raptors already have, like building around Scotty?
You mentioned that the Raptors have a need for ball handlers. That's something we talked about. And this is a guy that can play a little bit of point guard. This is a guy who can play a little bit of the two guard. He's a combo guard. He's really young. He's a sophomore player, but he's younger than a lot of the freshmen in the class. So there's upside with him. And he's a player that doesn't have a ton of flaws. He's extremely well-rounded. He can create for himself with the ball. I think he's a pretty good catch and shoot player. He shot nearly 36% from behind the arc. Not a high volume three-point shooter, but a solid, reliable three-point shooter. He can create for himself. As I said, he can create for others. And I think he's a really good defender. Now, he's 6'4". He's extremely light. He doesn't weigh 200 pounds. And I think he could get picked on because of that size. But we're talking about the 13th pick. You're not getting a perfect prospect this late in the lottery. So this is a guy, as I said, he can do it all. There are some defensive questions with him, but he's a ferocious point of attack defender. And I think you asked me earlier what the Raptors could use with this pick. And I think that they could use a guy who's really quick, has good feet, and can defend the point of attack and defend opposing guards.
Okay, I do like this pick. My last question though is because when I think of Toronto, I think of how seamlessly a guy like Scotty Barnes fit in, because you have the whole country and he is just like, he talks like a Toronto guy now. Like he embraced Toronto. Do you like Kobe in terms of the actual person that comes with it?
Well, he should be used to the cold. Michigan isn't too far away. And I think anytime Toronto brings guys in, Toronto is often foreign to a lot of American players. They haven't been up here, but I think quickly they realized that Toronto is a great city. It's a cold city, but he will get used to it, just like Scotty Barnes. If Scotty Barnes is a guy from Florida who can get used to the weather down there, I'm sure he can get used to the weather up here. And I think Toronto will embrace, as I said, Kobe B with the 13th pick. I'm sure lots of people will be writing about that if he is the pick at number 13.
Oh yeah, for sure. You already have your headline. Aaron, thank you so much for your pick. I appreciate you so very much.
Thank you.